Welcome, my dear friends, to our Voice of His Kingdom weekly devotion. This is our episode 53, and we shall be taking our text from the book of Exodus, chapter 3. Our key verses will come from verses 7 to 10. Let's read them together. And the Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. My friends, let's look at the background to our text. In the last chapter, we saw that the Israelites continued to groan in their slavery, but God remembered their suffering and the covenant He made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Moses had lived in Midian for 40 years before his encounter with God in this particular chapter. God appeared to him in the burning bush and spoke to Moses from the fire in verses 3 and 4. It's interesting that Moses, who had tried in his own strength to deliver Israel from the bondage of the Egyptians in chapter 2 from verses 11 to 15, now tried to renege when God called upon him to go back to Egypt and deliver the Israelites. He said to God, who am I to go back to Pharaoh? However, God calls Moses out of the fire and commissions him to return to Egypt and bring the Israelites out of slavery to the land He had promised their fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He introduced himself to Moses as the I am who I am, and gave him a promise that I will be with you in this assignment. So what are some key lessons we can learn from our text? Number one, we cannot carry out God's assignment in our own strength or power. It's not possible. Anyone genuinely called by God comes to this realization. So Moses came to the same realization, and he said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring Israelites out of Egypt? In verses 11. But the Lord assured him of his support. John 15:5 reminds us that when Jesus speaks and he says, I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So, we must realize that. So, one of our key lessons. You can't carry out God's assignment in your own strength or power. Number two, whatever assignment God gives to any one of us to carry out for Him is usually bigger than the individual. Now, this makes it imperative that we learn dependence. Apart from being dependent on God to carry out His assignment, you will fail. So that's the second lesson. And number third lesson is that God never forgets His promise. It took almost 500 years from the time this promise of the land of Canaan was made to Abraham till this moment of planned deliverance of Israel from slavery in Egypt. So, what can we apply from our lessons? To be assured, let's be assured that God will not forget or ignore His promises. My responsibility, therefore, is to keep believing and keep waiting for the fulfillment of God's promise. He never forgets. Psalm 27, verse 13 and 14, it says, I am still confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. It says, wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. God bless you, my friends, and thanks for listening.